Welcome to the Institute for Advanced Astonishment. I have two astonishing guests today. I have the poet Fred LaMotte right there, and he has a chalice filled of something. I don't think it's eggnog, but it's something.
I will share it later.
Okay.
It's pure rum for Fred.
The rum of compassion.
Oh my God!
I think his compassion is laced with rum. Or his rum is
I thought that was a mantra.
compassion.
Rum, 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 rum.
And Chelan Harkin, the poet. And I see Maria.
Hi, I'm on mute.
Who's Maria?
I was
Maria,
expecting a
hi,
big
Maria.
party. I was expecting a big party.
I
Where's
know,
everybody?
I don't know how this will
I
work.
don't know. Well, I think it comes down to that we shared the link after the event began that has something to do with
Yeah,
the
people
low
will be
turnout.
gathering. I'll change my name. Ah,
Hi, Maria. Good to see you, love.
oh, hiya. Joy. I'm a fan of both of you, Fred and Chelan. Big fan. Yeah.
Welcome.
I see.
Lovely to
Well
see you and meet you.
Lovely to meet you, Fred.
Hello from Germany. Happy to be here so
Hi,
much.
Judy.
Hi.
Good to see you.
And Phoenix.
Germany. Where are you in Germany?
I am in Bavaria, close in this UNESCO town called Regensburg. Very beautiful architecture and just a quieter place. But I'm very close to around beautiful mountains in
That's
wintertime.
great.
Yeah.
I'm not pushing anything. I wasn't planning to do this, but this book was just published in German.
Yes.
Perfect.
Fred,
Yes.
Fred, congratulations. And it's so cool. So I have a book being published in German right now too.
Yes, I heard that.
And it's just so funny. I don't know. Isn't it amazing? Hasn't this journey been amazing?
This
With
is
letting the
astonishing.
muse-
And I have only one book behind me. Can you guys see it? It's German. One.
I see the Buddha behind you, I think, and
Wow.
some flowers.
Meister Eckhart.
Oh, there it is.
God, I would love to be able to read Meister Eckhart in German. Oh,
Right?
amazing.
Fred, are you German? Do you have German ancestry?
Very little.
Okay.
Tiny bit of German, but mostly just English and Irish and a little Scotch and a little Welsh. And that's about it. Just hopelessly white. Hopelessly white.
Hey, Fred. Fred,
Yeah.
I love you.
Thank you. Wow,
You're
so do I.
Thank you. I'm so grateful for you. I love you so much.
Wow. You really brightened my days at our hippie college where we went.
Indeed. And same to you. I was so unmoored at that time. And that was one of the most stabilizing parts of my experience was every week Fred hosted Common Bread, this beautiful gathering at the longhouse there. And it was so substantial and just felt like you created a home.
Just holding
Thank
a
you.
little space, holding that beautiful space that the native people built.
Yes. And then I felt such kinship with you, I think was the main thing. Felt like your heart was so broad and expansive, and I just thank you so much. That was a really difficult time in my life, and I'm so grateful for that anchor. It was. Yeah.
Were you a poet already at that point?
Well, yeah, I interestingly, Fred, I just went back to Evergreen. I haven't been there for the first time in I don't even know how long. My kids and I went to a concert in Seattle, and then we came back and I had to show them Evergreen. And poetry cracked through me in the Evergreen Poetry Lab. That's where it started to pour through as it does today. And then we walked to the beach and I left a copy of the Prophetess on the Shore just as an homage to the gratitude of the place. So that's where it all began. Yep.
Beautiful.
And Fred, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like our poetry's expression kind of cracked open around the same time in terms of sharing it or something. Maybe not.
Oh, depends on your definition of time. Might not have been the same month, but the same couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Well, we inspired each other. And then we met James. And then it was all over.
And then we
were just like
met James and it was all over.
Blasted.
She wanted to
James,
play.
you've definitely left an imprint, my friend.
What's the game we're going to play besides drinking? We're going to play drinking games?
Well, I want to say that for a very long time, I did feel like compassion was the true wine, and I still feel that way. But I didn't drink any alcohol for most of my life, and I've started to this last year. I have had such a fun time with it, and just some kind of edges, get to come off, and it just, as someone who's new to the silly joys of alcohol, I'm just enjoying it so much. I'm just enjoying it so much. So we thought, Fred, and whatever you think, James and I, we're just playful, mischievous little elves, I feel, James and I. And we thought we could play a game where James poses questions to us about existence, which we answer poetically. And whoever's poem maybe hits or doesn't hit the mark, we drink some rum.
Well, it's too early in the day for me to drink rum, but I'll drink from this.
What's in there?
I'm going to offer this all to you. Be sure you drink from this. It is the cup
A chalice
of emptiness. And I want you to be sure that whatever else you do in this beautiful holiday season, you spend some time drinking from the cup of emptiness, because that will totally expand you, because that's where everything comes from. The cup of emptiness. That's where God is. That's where Christ is. And that's where you will meet Mary Magdelene in the cup of emptiness. And that cup is in your heart. That cup is in your heart.
I see it pouring forth from you in prolific amounts. Thank you.
You too.
And thank you. And there's so much letting go, isn't there, that one has to do to taste from that cup.
Well, loss is often the doorway.
Yes.
Loss is an open door. So
loss is
when
the
we experience loss. Sometimes that awakens true emptiness, and then we can be full.
Yes.
But nobody said it would be easy.
That's right. That's right. And emptiness, well, emptiness is a fertile ground too. Wouldn't you say, Fred?
Yeah, that's to me, emptiness is the no thing that the universe comes from. So you can take a drink to that. That's the first thing I'll say about existence. But I thought I was crazy until I read this from Leonardo da Vinci.
Ooh.
Okay. Ready from that? You ready for this? From Leonardo da Vinci. He was a master scientist, a master artist, architect, biologist. This is what Leonardo wrote in his notebook. Above all great things that the mind can discover is the existence of nothing.
Ah.
Wow. Among all the great things that the mind can discover, the greatest is the existence of nothing.
Thank you, Leonardo. And thank you, Fred. I want to invite Leonardo to be with us here. And Galileo as well. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And I want to talk about this a little bit, Fred, like this emptiness, because I think emptiness isn't very can be not very attractive or appealing if we understand it as, like if we have an empty cup, like what we want substance, we want an experience. So it can feel like, oh, I have to give up everything for nothing, and what's the win? But I feel like, right, we just let go of, we just experience actually deeper and deeper and deeper dimensions of substance as the letting go process continues. And we actually, I mean, it's really synonymous with ultimate fullness. Finding what we've sought without the violent unconscious grasping and controlling. And we find that kinship there. Would you say? What would you say, Fred?
Others can speak in this conversation too, because we're all beginners in emptiness. But I would say, yes, that what I've discovered through the practice of meditation is that it precisely at the point, and it's usually, speaking of the point, right here, your sternum is shaped like a sword. And at the lower point of your sternum is an actual, what looks like a little blade. And it's called the xiphosternum by anatomists. Xiphos is the Greek word for a sword. So where does that sword point? Right down into that little groove or that hollow space just above where your belly rises and falls, just below where your heart beats. There's a space right there. Valley between your breasts. For you ladies who are fortunate enough to have breasts, there's a valley between them. And as your breath goes out, you sink into that valley. And at the point of that sword, you drop into this fertile nothing. Fertile. It's like a valley. And it's at that point where the breath goes. And for a moment, there's silence. There's pure space. And yet that little tiny space is the space where worlds are born, where the whole universe comes from. And so it's precisely at the point where I let go into that emptiness that there's this burst, and the joy, the poetry, the craziness, the wonder, the astonishment comes out of that space. And it's become almost trite to point to physics, but modern physics, quantum physics, says exactly the same thing, that out of this vacuum, there's really everything is there. Everything comes from that black hole. It seems like nothing, but it's not nothing. It's the vibrating source of all energy. Waves of that emptiness become matter. That's what mother matter, just that beautiful womb of darkness and silence. At this time of year, especially, we feel ourselves sinking into that divine darkness. And so many people think, oh my God, am I getting depressed? No, just go with it. Just go. Go into the deep darkness and taste the flavor of silence. That's where Mary is, and that's where the Magdalene is, and that's where Christ is born. It's beautiful, where the solstice comes from. So, anyway, I'll shut up now.
Oh, Fred. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Yes.
I feel like my body has become like a champagne bottle.
Ooh, nice.
Bathing in this. Really, I feel it really as a vibration, as a fizziness. Oof. Thank you, Fred. That was beautiful. Thank you.
Fred,
Sorry.
Go ahead, James.
I was just going to say, maybe to conjure up a poem, maybe one of you can do a poem about leaving the world of concepts and knowledge and going to this non-conceptual space. And you're both right about that.
Go, Chelan, go, because I've been speaking too much. So you just share something of your poem.
I don't know about that, because you do speak, Fred, from the language of emptiness. You articulate it and help us remember it and bring us into it. And it's so beautiful to hear from a man about finding this in the body. And you do that so beautifully. It's hard to know, isn't it, what poem to pull? Maybe
You write a lot about getting rid of your old concepts of God, like knickknacks and,
Oh yeah, that's one of your favorite ones, the knickknacks one.
I love that one.
Do you want to read? Do you have access to these books, James?
I do. I don't know how fast I can find it, but I'll try.
Yeah.
Or you can give us anything. Give us anything.
Okay. Let's see here. Oh, here, this will do. This is a nice short one. Isn't it fun to make books, Fred? Books are so.
Yeah, but as soon as one's out there, I feel like, oh no, I didn't say it right. I just want to have to do another one because I have to say it more clearly.
That's like Kerouac's words. He said, one day I'll find the words and they'll be simpler.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to go back through books that were written a while ago and feel the difference.
I'm always sending Fred poems from a long time ago, and he forgets them, and he'll rewrite it and post it on Facebook with just the right tweak and the right change, and it gets even better than the thing that blew my mind and made me throw the book across the room 10 years ago.
Thank you for doing that, James.
Thank you.
Well, one of my favorite authors, her name is Anita Johnston. She writes all about with beautiful storytelling about the resurrection and exoneration and coronation of the feminine powers. And her theory, which I love, is that the words are sort of a holder for the consciousness of the author of them, or whatever comes through the author, and that actually as the author evolves, the transmission deepens for the reader even as the words stay the same.
That's great.
I love that.
That makes me think of how even the Bible and books I rejected as an atheist and a skeptic years ago, you see that it's like woven into the fabric of it's like woven into consciousness, and whatever lasts and stays. And one person could read a line one day, and another person could read the same line and see a whole different perspective. It's so amazing what lasts and what.
Yes.
It's like a slowly evolving dream.
Ooh, beautiful. Yeah. Okay, I'm still looking. I'm still looking for the. Oh, here. Wait.
One of my favorites by you is that Hafiz poem you wrote to him about the trapdoor.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay, here's this one. This is a short little one. It reminds me of what Fred was, well, about how we just to get in and experience the satisfaction of whatever's there. There's a need to get out of the trap of just attachments and names and things. So this is called Rebellious Secretaries.
Oh, I love that one.
Oh, do you? Oh, cool, James. What God wants is for us all to become rebellious secretaries, unlabeling every bit of our hearts in this indescribably beautiful world. Yeah.
Oh, read it. Read it again.
Oh, sure thing.
That's just the rebellious
mind. Rebellious secretaries. What God wants is for us all to become rebellious secretaries, unlabeling every bit of our hearts and this indescribably beautiful world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very similar. Okay, so I'll share a real short one too, because it's so similar.
Please.
This is called No Chakras.
Oh, great.
No Chakras. And there were two ladies who actually unfriended me when they read this, because they were so caught up in studying their chakras and having to have these things, that they're carrying around, these chakras. Don't worry. Yeah, I believe there are chakras. Don't worry. But
yes.
Here's the poem. When I laugh, I have no chakras. The sun is my heart. When I cry, the moon comes down to caress my forehead, but finds no lotus to kiss open. Breathing the beloved scent clears my natal chart of every planet and sign. The astrologer is bewildered. All he sees in me is an empty page full of light. Don't give me any more of your esoteric books. Grace has made me too stupid to understand.
Yes.
That reminds me of a quote that I would have hated as when I was a really arrogant skeptic who thought he knew everything and thought he knew the truth. And the quote is, your delusion that knowledge, the idea that knowledge is not a delusion is the greatest delusion of all.
Mm. Mm.
Say that again. Say that again.
Something, it was twisty like that. Something like the delusion that knowledge is not a delusion is the greatest delusion of all. That even knowledge has to go for wisdom. I always thought wisdom was accumulated knowledge, but it's like kicking
Accumulated.
Yeah, like standing on all the books to look over the wall, but it's really kicking the ladder away and jumping off the roof.
That one of the great, mostly you have to experience, right, to understand. But once in a while, when someone says something at the right time, at the right moment, that word can open you. And I was with my teacher, some would say guru,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to go into who he is and everything, but he was with a very small group of us, and he was saying, you shouldn't make the guru into someone any different than you are. You're all the same. We're all the same. And finally I said, yeah, but you have something we don't have, and we want it. And he looked at me with these eyes that are like black holes, swirling stars. And he said, no, I've dropped it. You're still carrying it.
Mm.
And my whole context of, the way we think about enlightenment and everything, it just totally shattered and changed it. I had always like we think we're accumulating something, we're getting enlightenment, right? We're getting it. And he said, no, I've dropped it. You're still carrying it. And I thought, oh my God, yes. So I'm not going to try to explain what that meant to me, but it's very clear. It's all about dropping the stuff that you
Beautiful.
and then
Fred.
it's there. It's there. What you're looking for is here. But we're just carrying stuff that gets in our way.
Mm.
It's like a joke. The whole thing is like the structure of a cosmic joke.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it makes you cry instead of laugh.
And I always really, oh my God, I remember back in the Evergreen days, I was really desperate. Like I had this understanding of that on a level, but I didn't know how to get experience. I didn't know how to drop it. And I wanted more of a clear, I didn't know what to do, and I wanted more of a clear path. And I feel like one thing that I'm happy to have discovered, because it's helped me so much. And so if this is helpful to anybody who might watch this, if we share this recording, is like just being honest, really honest about what it is that we are carrying, all the vanities or all the attachments and all the, just exposing those is this amazing key to letting them go. Once they're exposed to light, they can't really hang on that well. And anyway, that's been a helpful path. And then wherever we are, if we're acting out, violence or whatever from a place of insecurity or whatever it is we're going through, just to bring it to light. And I feel like that can help us just let go.
Yeah, you realize full accountability, which I never said in my life until then. And it's like, and you can't lie and you can't get away but one thing. So that made me think of maybe that's what the Christians meant by God is all knowing, all seeing, because you really can't get away with anything because it's always, you can't hide it. You can't act anymore. You have to stop acting.
In the Gnostic Gospel of Thomas, one of the sayings of Jesus, and I believe he really said some of those things, he says, if you open up what is inside you will liberate you. If you do not open up what is inside you will destroy you. That reminds me of what you said, Chelan.
Thank you.
Opening
That's
it
a
up.
beautiful passage. Fred, do you pray?
I pray and I meditate, and yes, I have a rich life of praying and meditating. But my prayers arise from the silence and from the wonder. I don't, I don't like pray written things that are in prayer books. I chant some things, but prayer just, in fact, my poems are very often prayers that come on the breath of dawn when I wake up in the morning, and I have just this impulse. It becomes a few words, and it's usually a few words directed to God or from God, I'm not sure which, and it just becomes a poem, but it begins as a prayer.
Yeah.
There's a constant dialogue between word and silence. It's kind of interesting to have a dialogue with silence, but when you dip into the silence, then your heart just sings. You can't help but pray. And then you just dip back into the silence. So I thank my teacher for teaching me to meditate. So when I go into that silence, prayer actually comes from there. And, all these scriptures, including the Bible, say in the beginning was the Word. God created through the Word. So God is this silence that just wants to burst in song. And that's what creation is. It's a deep, ancient relationship between language and creation. And I think we had once the power to create through our language. We had the power to bless and to manifest and to heal with our words, but they've been so exploited and watered down because so much rumor and just talk, useless talk. I mean, I've quit looking at the news stuff, TV. I used to be a news junkie, and I've just let it all go, and I feel so much freer.
I mean, thank you. Go ahead, Fred. Keep going.
I mean, I keep in touch with what's going on, but I don't listen to all these panels of talking heads sitting around, discussing it. So.
Well, thank you for everything you just said and this connection between words and silence, because sometimes I feel a little bit annoyed or irritated because every time I drop into silence deeply, then the words come. And sometimes I just want to just stay in the silence, and then the words come and but I guess words really are can be an extension of silence. Come from and then lead back to. And yeah.
Thomas Merton talked
There,
about that, being a Trappist monk, but also a writer, and having that pressure of writing, and the words would come even though he was in silence in the monastery, and the pressure between the two to have to try to change the world with the words, and meanwhile it's
I remember the passage where he talked about that.
Yeah.
He described exactly what in himself, what Chelan just said.
Yes.
There was always this temptation to get into the words. And
yes,
sometimes the deeper the silence, then the words that come out of it seem so profound, you just want to go write them down.
Yeah.
So that's a temptation. That's like the temptation in the wilderness. Sometimes you have to just let the most beautiful words go.
Yeah.
And
yes,
experience of loss. Oh my God. That's one of my deepest experiences of loss, is when I don't, save something, or I don't hold on to it. I let it go. But I'm so thankful that I can return to the silence. But at the time, it can be very painful to return to silence.
Thank you for saying that, Fred. Thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate that a lot, and to sit with the discomfort of that. And then I have the sense, the few times I've been able to do that, that energy then actually is distributed in another way to the collective, or the wisdom gets to maybe come through other vessels. Or that we just get to absorb it kind of in a way that deepens the experience.
Well, what you're describing is a very profound definition of what in the Vedic tradition, what in the yoga tradition is called tapas. Tapas is usually translated as austerity, like what in the West we call asceticism, self-denial and all that. But what you just said, no, you refine it by letting it go at one level. You let it become a deeper form of energy,
Yes.
and it nourishes you in a more hidden way. Whereas if you're always taking it out and talking about it, that refinement sometimes doesn't happen. So sometimes by letting go, you go deeper, and you're nourished. Like you said, you're nourished by what you let go of.
Oh, what a beautiful
It's like
state.
fertilizer, compost
Yes.
your words instead of always speaking them.
But thank you, Fred.
I wonder if it's even a choice at that point, if it's something that you can choose, or it chooses you. And I don't know if you have a choice there. It's almost like when you're in deep meditation and you can stay with the images and the beautiful concepts, or even on astonishment medicine, you can follow the rabbit down the hole, and it's all this mind stuff that's very beautiful, or you can let go of all of it and then pop through to that silence.
And so you're saying that might not be a choice at that point?
I don't know. That's what I wonder. Is that the only choice? If there's a choice, I think that's the only choice there is and we get it 50,000 times a day, to just shut up and drop into the silence, or to translate it into some kind of art or beautiful image or word.
I would love to offer a song, because while you've been just receiving this notion of silence and words and actually, before I came into this, I was in a grief community space with 350 other people with Mirabai Star. And so we were just like navigating and speaking and talking and feeling into the disconnection between soul and the current culture, like what's happening right now. And I've just been really feeling this song very much since I've returned back to Europe to experience a deeper wintering. And it's a song by Mackenzie Madrone. And it's so simple, and it speaks into exactly what you all have been sharing. So I will just offer it as a song.
Please.
Only in silence the words, only in darkness light, only in dying life, bright the hawk's flight in the open sky. Only in silence the words, only in darkness light, only in dying life, bright the hawk's flight in the open sky. Only in silence the words, only in darkness light, only in dying life, bright the hawk's flight in the open skies, bright the hawk's flight in the open skies, bright the hawk's flight in the open skies.
Beautiful.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you.
Oh,
Yes. Yes to the
you.
divine darkness. Yes to the ways in which we receive so much wisdom and beauty from the emptiness, from drinking from this cup that you so graciously offered to us in the beginning just now, Fred. Thank you. Drinking.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And being drunk by it, in it.
Well, I just put a poem up in the social media about that, and some people like, well, it's kind of like what Chelan was saying. It's people were really upset that I was talking so much about the divine wine and the divine drunkenness and the inebriation of God. It's one of the most ancient images from the Sufis, from Hafiz, from the medieval mystics in Christianity. Jesus himself chose that image. Sex and wine. Sounds totally, those are the two most popular images of mystical poets, going to the tavern and getting inebriated, the love of God. And the wedding, the Gnostics spoke of the highest sacrament in the Gnostics, in the 2nd century Christian Gnostic church. The highest sacrament was called the sacrament of the bridal chamber. And in the sacrament of the bridal chamber is the unity of Christ and Sophia, or as I think of it, Christ and Mary Magdalene. But it's a wedding. It's in the East, it's called Shiva and Shakti, but it's this wedding in your heart. In yoga, it's the union of the solar and the lunar energies. They're in your body, and they come together in this sacred space, which is the temple and the wedding chamber in your heart. And I think that's at the essence of every great religious tradition.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, which one of you said that or talked about that? Oh, I love that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love what you shared, Fred. That really speaks to me. I'm new to poetry. The human is new to poetry, but anything in a soul level. And there's 2 books in the making, and they've all come through in seconds. And as I hear you just sharing then, the beauty of the letting go, because sometimes it can be like Chelan said, it's very overwhelming. I've got 3 children. stop now. I can't drink anymore, but I want to keep being drunk in it. And that's the greediness of the human. And there's a beautiful invitation that I'm going to hold very graciously in my heart with what you just shared, which is, how the human can get very quickly attached to ownership of words. And for me, there is an energetic component when they come through. There is a really, feels like Eros. I can share what came the other day, if it's okay.
Yeah, please.
Samandi, Eros with words. How do you capture this process? It's wordless. And I haven't edited, and I never tend to edit because I don't have time. So I'm just going to share it as it came. Can humans make Eros with words? I am blissfully bathed in the oblivion of my own thinking, swimming in the great current of God's wordsmith, tasting the wisdom of his palate through my own throat. May this abyss continue gifting me nothing but woven grace, sprinkled as letters of forgotten beauty on the blank sheet of the sacred one within.
Beautiful.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, that's so good. So beautiful. What is your native language? Because I noticed you have an accent.
Yeah, I'm Greek. So when you mentioned the sword earlier,
Greek.
From Crete, the island of Crete.
Oh wow! What a rich heritage. Oh
yeah, yeah. I live in Manchester, but and so that's the fascinating thing for me. They come in English, which how do I explain this? Can't. I don't even need to. Don't need to explain. But it's just infinite, impregnated beauty.
Some of my favorite writers have been people for whom English was not their native language.
Right, interesting.
And they took it up in a way, we take it for granted, but they took it up as a beautiful tool that they were working with, that they were discovering. In prose, Joseph Conrad and Vladimir Nabokov and some of the great novelists who wrote some of the great.
Yeah. I wonder if there's something there in what we carry and what gets attached consciously and unconsciously in language, and because of our upbringing and wounding, and which has occurred in our own language, and actually not having that association with the actual words. I wonder if it opens up that window, that blank slate.
Yes.
As there's something in it, isn't it? That's interesting. Yeah, you got me thinking.
Well, I'm excited thinking about how there's different medicine at different times too. Like for many, renouncing alcohol, for example, is a step forward into deeper self. And like these days for me, enjoying
That's right.
has been a step forward, actually. And for some, and in some moments expression, and in others silence. And like Fred, I'm inspired to experiment with kind of sacrificing the impulse to create poetry and share it at the temple of silence for a time.
Yeah.
I think the service then, it becomes more of a service, because it is, when the power of poetry comes through, it can be really tempting or easy to even accidentally identify with it.
Yes. Yeah,
and so then to sacrifice that to something deeper feels like an important actually passage right now. So thank you.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and it trusts that there's something deeper that is. Sometimes it can feel like, oh, my poem has to come through to give the specific medicine or else. But there's something deeper that's got us all and that holds us all and is taking care of us all. And to experience that, something very profound. And then I think the outcome, as we detach deeper and deeper, is just more joy. As we give our gifts, it's less I have to and more I get to, and more wow, and more wow about everything. Gratitude, kinship, sacred wow.
That's why I wish we had more groups like this to share from this level, because what I'm becoming more and more interested in is the poem that arises now. The poem that arises from this moment, from this pause, kind of like a Quaker meeting where we're
Yeah.
all, where you have permission to be silent for a little while, and then someone speaks, and it nourishes someone's heart, and they speak. But what we speak is a surprise. It's a poem. It's creative language coming out of the moment rather than going back and reading something from the past. So that's what I hunger for, meetings like that. And, you know, I'm one of these people, I've left this little trail of books behind me. I never even thought I'd ever had one, but I never go back and read them. Once in a
Yeah.
while, I'm reminded of something, but I'm more interested in the poem that is unfolding, you know, from the present moment, if that makes any sense.
It absolutely does. I love the idea of or any expression being a surprise to our own self, because that's when it jumps from what life rather than our conditioned knowns. And what's almost the point of that? Because we already know it. Why? Yeah.
I feel tempted to give this a go, Fred. I'm taking that as an invitation. I don't know what we're doing with time. I can feel a few brewing in already. And yeah,
speak,
yeah,
speak from your heart.
yeah. Oof, oof. It wasn't an invitation for me necessarily, but for the group. Okay, I can try.
No, don't try. Just
try. Correct. Yes. Stop trying. Well, I'm feeling it. So I am being drunk. I am being drunk by the chalice, the empty cup, full of knowing, and I'm being stirred in infinite wisdom of this ancient knowing that seeks to forget. I am being drunk.
Drink to that.
Yeah, that seeks to forget. Mm. Mm-mm-mm.
Your words took
that
me,
felt vulnerable. But
your words took me to the silence, and the silence so rich, inebriating silence. You know, silence can be so substantial. It can be like true wine. It can be granular. It can be full of bread. Silence can be so nourishing. And there's a depth of silence where the world that seems solid and the inner silence that seemed abstract, like nothing, there's a reversal. And the world appears to be like a mist. And the inner silence is like a diamond, so solid.
Oh.
And that is so scary. When that experience happens, you want to flee from it because you think maybe you're crazy. But I think That's what the great mystics, that's what Adi Shankara was telling us. That's what Meister Eckhart was telling us. The world is the mist.
Yes.
And at the core of your heart is this silent union, just like a diamond. That's what's solid. But it's not for the faint of heart.
It's not for the faint of heart, indeed. But how beautiful, always what we fall into.
Mm.
No matter, like, that's what there is. When everything else falls away, that's what.
We're back.
Okay, you guys, I'm going to go on a hike, and I love you. Thank you.
Chelan. So nice to be here with you again.
Thank you.
Really good to see you.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
guys.
much.
Bye,
Thank you.
Lulu.
Bye.
Bye.
Fred, would you read us something, please, to see us out? Would so
Yeah.
love to hear
Is that
something
all
you
right,
wrote.
James? Is that all right?
Yeah. Is that all right? That's the whole point.
Well,
Please.
okay. I'll share this one because this is an example of what we were talking about before. I'd totally forgotten about this. And then I found someone who made a video of it, reading it to some group.
Mm.
So it was on YouTube. So yeah, I'll share this.
Great.
Not too mystical, very practical. It's called B4. B4. Don't tell me what you are against. Tell me what you love, what you cherish with your whole body. Being against contracts the heart. Being against contracts the heart. Being for opens the chest like an orchid bending toward light. Now is the time to depart from the empire of despair and return to the palace of beauty, this human form. One sweet dark nerve in your solar plexus radiates 1,000 times more power than any opinion. Let this be your worship on a Sunday morning or this morning for a little while. Don't be against anything. Only be for. Be for the sun on the table. Be for the late summer rose. Be for tears and the laughter, children. Wash the whole planet in the foolishness of God.
Mm.
Beautiful.
Mm. Yes.
Thank you, my
Yeah.
friends. It's a blessing to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you, James.
And we'll post this soon. Probably in a couple of days it'll be up, and I'll send the link out to everybody.
Thank you so much, James. And everybody, have a beautiful rest of your day.
You too.
Blessed rest of your trip in Guatemala, James. Take good care, everybody.
That's sweet. I feel like I've made some beautiful friends. Goodbye.
Yay! Bye.
Merry Christmas.